03. See All My Children. As a teenager, I'd run home to watch those 15-minute black and white episodes of The Guiding Light and Search for Tomorrow. Later in my life, I'd get hooked on General Hospital, All My Children, and One Life to Live. I've always loved soaps, losing myself in the stories, identifying with the characters, savoring the endless twists and turns of the plots. Meanwhile, our family plot was developing in a different direction. "There's a man I want us to meet," said Claudette over breakfast one morning. "His name is Throckmorton, and he's a doctor. He specializes in helping women with problem pregnancies. I've heard he has unusual theories and methods, but I want to see what he's about." I agreed to accompany her, and a week later we were seated across from a tall, thin, elderly gentleman with snow-white hair and kind blue eyes. He had the disheveled mannerisms of an absent-minded professor. At the same time, he spoke slowly and thoughtfully, carefully weighing each word while tapping a sharpened pencil on his desk calendar. "My examination reveals that the shape of your uterus, Mrs. Robinson, may not support a fetus. The average uterus is heart-shaped and closed at the cervix. Yours is pear-shaped and somewhat open. Your history shows that you have no problem with fertilization. The problem is carrying the fetus to term. I don't see any traditional way to solve that dilemma. Now, I don't know either of you, and before I go on, I must ask whether you would consider a rather radical approach to childbirth." Claudette and I looked at each other. We didn't know what he was talking about. "Please explain what you have in mind," Claudette answered. "Implantation. What's that?" I wanted to know. "An experimental method that works like this. You, Mr. Robinson, would impregnate your wife. I would then surgically remove the fertilized egg from her and place it in the womb of another woman, who would carry the child for the full term of pregnancy." We were shocked, didn't know what to say, didn't know what to think. "Has this ever been tried before?" Claudette asked. "There have been a few experiments, but as far as I'm concerned, this would be my first attempt." "What are the chances of success?" Claudette inquired. "Candidly speaking, not good." "And what about the woman?" I wanted to know. "How could we be guaranteed she wouldn't change her mind and want to keep the baby?" "We'll have to find the right woman. That will be my responsibility." "It sounds a little crazy," I said, my head spinning. "If you agree," Throckmorton continued, "I'll have to closely monitor Mrs. Robinson's ovulations. Through a strict vitamin and food regimen, we'll also build up your sperm count. Moreover, it's essential that this entire procedure remain undisclosed. The laws do not yet recognize my methods. If discovered, I could easily lose my license." "What about after the baby's born?" I asked. "What do we tell people? The truth, that the baby's adopted? Because that's exactly what you'll have to do. If you yourself could get into trouble," Claudette remarked. "Why are you risking this?" "Because, my child," he said, taking off his rimless professorial glasses and looking her square in the eye, "I think I'm right." Claudette and I talked about it all afternoon. We were up all that night. It seemed so bizarre, transferring an egg from one woman to another. The hush-hush atmosphere didn't help matters. What if Throckmorton was a fraud? Yet he seemed so sincere and scientific. Meanwhile, we still wanted a baby more than ever. After the death of the twins, we desperately wanted to avoid the heartache of another miscarriage, but the chances of this experiment working weren't all that good either. "What should we do?" "Do," said Claudette. "I say we try." "I'm willing," I agreed, and so we did. Throckmorton was delighted. Like a scientist about to embark on a bold experiment, he was energized by the challenge. He was so enthusiastic about our decision, he offered us prenatal and hospital services free of charge. I also think, in a purely fatherly way, he fell for Claudette. She was his pet patient. Then the waiting began. Months after we first met with him, he finally called to say that he'd found a willing woman. "All she asks," he said, "is that you pay her college tuition." I gladly agreed. The egg was taken from Claudette and implanted in the surrogate mother. Then more waiting, weekly reports from Throckmorton, hoping, worrying, praying. In March of 1968, he called to say that the woman was entering her second trimester of pregnancy. "All indications are that she'll carry the fetus full term," Throckmorton declared. "If I were you, I'd start telling my friends and relatives that you and Mrs. Robinson have applied for adoption." We celebrated that night, thrilled at the thought of becoming parents at last. We also decided that we would each tell one close friend the absolute truth. I told Barry, and Claudette told Erlyn, Ronnie White's wife. We told everyone else that we were hoping to adopt a girl. The call came on August 16, 1968. "I'm happy to say," announced Throckmorton, "that you are parents of a healthy baby boy." We explained to our friends that the adoption agency had urged us to adopt a baby boy who had just arrived and bore an uncanny resemblance to me. Legally, we adopted the child the day after his birth. How strange to adopt your own baby, and called him Barry William Borup Robinson. Barry after Barry Gordy, William after me, and Borup after the first two letters of my partner's names, Bobby, Ronnie, and Pete. Looking at my son for the first time, I couldn't contain myself. I wept as though I were the baby. I thanked God for the gift of his life and the dedicated doctor who was midwife to the miracle. What do you think? I think he's beautiful. Do you think he looks like me? Exactly. You think people will think I had him with another woman? I don't think you care what people think. I think you're just happy to have him. You're right, I said, kissing Candy. I'd brought little Barry to her apartment so she could see him. He was only a month old, normal, strong, and healthy, everything a father could ask for. Candy held him in her arms, caressed his cheeks, kissed his tiny hands. She was so happy for me, her eyes filled with tears. Then she broke the news. "I'm going away." "What?" "I'm leaving Detroit." "Why? It isn't fair. You and Claudette finally have what you've always wanted. I couldn't live with myself if I did anything to destroy that. I'm a distraction. I love you too much. I have too much respect for Claudette to damage your life together. Where are you going? They've offered me a job at the Playboy Club in San Francisco. I've accepted. I wanted to stop her, wanted to argue, wanted to convince her to stay, but reason wasn't on my side. What did I have to offer Candy? She had my love. I genuinely cared for her, but the commitment wasn't there. The commitment was reserved for my family. She knew, and I knew too, that her future wasn't with me. I kissed her long and hard that afternoon, kissed her and made her promise to stay in touch. After all, we were friends. Carrying Barry to the car, turning to wave to her one last time, I knew she was doing the right thing. I also knew that given the strength of our attraction, it'd be hell for us to stay apart, and I wondered, would it really be possible? A week later, on a hot Sunday afternoon, Daddy Five and I were at Tiger Stadium watching Mickey Lolich mow down the Indians. This was little Barry's first ball game. It was also the year Detroit would win the World Series, beating Cleveland to the pennant by 16.5 games. Daddy was already trying to turn little Barry into an Indian fan. No use, I said. He's too smart to root for a loser. You talk that shit, boy, and he'll believe you. Listen to your grandpa, Daddy declared, putting Barry on his lap. Cleveland's your team, and don't you forget it. Listen, Daddy, I said, changing subjects. People say a man can't be in love with two women at the same time. What do you think? I think what people say doesn't mean diddly squat. Only thing that matters is what you feel. Nobody can tell you who you love or who you don't love. You know your own heart. I took a bite out of a hamburger while Daddy bounced Barry on his knee. I stared aimlessly as Jim Northrup flied out to left field. Thinking about Candy? He asked me. Daddy knew her, just like I had known his women when I was a kid. In fact, Candy even called him Daddy. Thinking about everything, I answered. Let her go, boy, he said. Just let the girl go. Letting go. The air was clear. From Barry Gordy's home in the Hollywood Hills, the one he'd just bought from Tommy Smothers, you could see for miles. Below, the Los Angeles basin seemed so vast, a mad matrix of freeways and boulevards, porn shops and movie studios, mansions and shacks. Look to your right, Smoke, said Barry. You can see the ocean. In the distance, the Pacific shimmered under the morning sun. Claudette had gone inside to feed little Barry. We'd come out to California to show Big Barry his godson. After pointing out a few more sights, Barry got down to business. I've decided to move out here. I thought you'd be going back and forth. That was the original plan. But Smoke, I'm telling you, man, this is the place. I love the weather, I love the LA attitude, and as far as business goes, it's all happening here. So much is going on in LA. Movies, for instance. You're going to make movies? I'm going to try. You can make movies in Detroit. You can make movies in Des Moines if you have to, but movies are made in Hollywood. I think it's a mistake, Barry. Why? Detroit's your home and your heart. It all happened for you in Detroit. I can't see you leaving. I can't see me staying, and I can't see you staying either. Forget it, man. I was adamant. I'm not about to move out here. Just think about it, Smoke. All I'm asking you is to consider the idea. Back inside the house, we were still debating the issue when a messenger arrived with a tape from Detroit. From Stevie, said Barry, putting it on. We sat back and listened to an early version of Signed, Sealed, Delivered, I'm Yours. The minute it was over, Barry jumped up, all smiles. He couldn't contain himself. Just like that, he called Stevie in Detroit. Man, he said, you really pitched a bitch. This jam's a monster. I couldn't hear what Stevie said, but Barry's reply was plain. I don't care if it is a sample mix. That's the mix that's going out. Don't touch it, man. Just get it out there, and I mean now. The sample mix went out, and the song went #1. Back home, I wasn't happy with my career. I didn't just dislike the traveling. I hated it. Maybe it was the birth of Barry, maybe it was Candy leaving, but I was determined to devote myself to my family. Running in and out of town was driving me nuts, and, for the first time, there was also dissension among the troops. For years, I'd tried to supplement the Miracles' income by having them help me compose. If they worked a writing session with me, whether I used their ideas or not, I put their names on the tunes, and consequently, they enjoyed extra earnings. But I also wanted them to write among themselves, hoping they'd generate even more hits. That would lessen their need for live performance money. It'd mean less pressure on me to tour with the guys. I didn't really need the concert money. My own situation had steadily improved. I had writers' royalties coming in and also a vice president's salary. The Miracles, though, were reluctant to write without me. And then things got bad between me and Pete Moore. Pete and I had been inseparable since we were kids, but when he married, I found out his wife started whispering shit in his ear. Smokey's making more than you. Smokey's taking more than he should. Smokey has this and Smokey has that. Over time, Pete's attitude soured. He started angling against me, doing stuff behind my back. I was shocked. I was also pissed. After all, he'd known his wife very briefly, but we'd been friends since childhood. Male friendships are sacred to me. I'm just as tight today with my neighborhood buddies, guys I've known since I was 5, as I was 40 years ago. I'd never let anyone turn me against Pete, and I resented the fact that he let his wife poison his mind. Then I started contemplating. Because I made more money than the other guys, I'd always picked out and paid for the group's clothes. I kept us clean, kept us sharp, did lots of extra shit I didn't have to. More and more, I was feeling used and unappreciated. I confronted Pete with my feelings, but by then, the damage had been done. He didn't deny anything, but he didn't really want to talk about it. In 1969, I decided to quit the Miracles and get the hell off the road. It was no easy decision because, after all, we'd been together most of our lives. In fact, Bobby Rogers and I were born in the same hospital on the same day. If they hadn't put me in the wrong color nursery, you could say we've been chirping and crying together from the first minutes we popped into the world. No matter, my peace of mind was slowly being destroyed, and I knew it was time to leave. I love you guys, I told them at a meeting at Ronnie White's house. We're brothers, we'll always be brothers, but there's a time when even brothers have to go their separate ways. They heard me, my words were clear, but the reality of my decision didn't quite register with them. 4 years before, our name had been changed from the Miracles to Smokey Robinson and the Miracles. It was Barry's idea. He argued that having the leader's name out front would boost business. The guys might have resented it, but they saw his reasoning and said nothing. This time, once again, they quietly accepted what I was saying. Only later did I learn that they didn't believe me. I'm not sure I believed it myself, because somehow I didn't leave in 1969, or in 1970, or even in 1971. In 1972, I was still touring with the Miracles. Part of the reason goes back to that Hitsville Christmas party with Stevie Wonder. 3 years after we'd released The Tears of a Clown, the song I'd written with Stevie, a Motown executive in London decided it had hit potential and put it out in the UK. After 2 weeks, the thing jumped to #1. Soon, it was selling big in 5 European countries. Finally, in 1970, it was re-released in America, where it soared to the top of the charts. Turned out to be the Miracles' biggest record ever, selling some 3 million copies. That was great, but it also put me in a bind. As a group, we were hotter than ever. Our performance fees zoomed to $25,000 a night. Big money back then. Come on, Smoke, my partners pulled on me. You've got to tour for another year. We need time to get ourselves financially straight. I agreed. I toured, but I hated it. Hated it every time I left the house. Hated the cabs and the limos and the planes. Hated the hotels and the hotel food. Hated the hassles and headaches over equipment and musicians and luggage and sound checks. When we got to San Francisco, I called Candy. I'd been worried about her because on the phone, she'd told me about her stormy affair with Huey Newton of the Black Panthers. There'd been violence, and she was so afraid that for a while she'd gone into hiding. She came to the Miyako Hotel, saying that Huey was no longer a problem. For 3 days and 3 nights, despite our resolve to end our relationship, we stayed together. I realized that no matter how deep my love for Claudette, I also loved Candy. We confided in one another. We escaped into each other's arms. I sympathized, thinking of my own marriage as Candy explained how doctors had told her she could never have a child. She listened as I ventilated my frustrations about the tedium and travails of the road. Candy was always cool. If she came to the gig, she did so as an ordinary fan. She'd never hang on me or bring attention to herself. In much the same way, Claudette was cool. We had an unspoken understanding. Maybe it was because, having traveled as a Miracle, Claudette knew how men acted. If, for example, she flew out to see me perform, she'd always call first. She'd never show up unannounced. When she arrived at my hotel, she'd ring my room from the lobby. "Hi, honey," she'd say. "I'll be up in a few minutes." I respected her for being wise enough to avoid the possibility of walking in on anything. Claudette, a smart and wonderful woman, wanted to maintain our marriage. So did I. I just wanted this Miracles tour to end. I wanted to be back in Detroit. My desire doubled when I learned that Dr. Throckmorton had called. "What does he want?" I asked Claudette. "He says it's too complicated to discuss on the phone. We need to see him in person. This time, he says, he has a whole new